Well, a new poll released earlier this month highlighted some encouraging news ahead of this year's March for Life. Contrary to what legacy media and Democrat lawmakers often claim, Millennials and Gen Zers are not solidly on the side of abortion. The numbers actually tell a much different story, as did the most recent election. So, where do these key demographics stand and where are they going? Here now to discuss this poll, Kristan Hawkins, president of Students for Life of America and Students for Life Action. The poll was conducted by the Mary Dimitri Institute for Pro-Life Advancement, which is an initiative of the Students for Life of America. Kristan, welcome back to Washington Watch. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
So let me just ask you this. What were the most encouraging numbers that you saw in this poll?
Yeah, I think the poll counteracts what you were saying, so much of what you hear in the legacy mainstream media. Almost 7 in 10, which is up from last year, of Gen Z and Gen Y voters, which, by the way, is the largest demographic in our electorate, the least church, the most liberal. Almost 7 in 10 support limits on abortion. That's something that you never hear, especially when you're on a college campus. Even young people themselves will think that the majority of young people are pro-abortion. The Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, which Democrats killed in the U.S. Senate last week with every single Democrat voting against it. 9 out of 10 young voters said that if a baby is born alive during a botched abortion, he or she should receive help. 9 out of 10. That just shows you how in bed the Democrats in Washington are with the abortion law, because this is unpopular what they did.
Well, Kristan, I would on the Born Alive, absolutely right, and all the Republicans voted for it. But I would even add that I think that the Republicans need to be schooled a little bit on where the Millennials and Gen Zers stand on these issues, because we keep hearing, well, we got these young people coming up, and we're going to start losing elections if we talk about these things. I actually see the young people who have been the victim of these policies in many ways, not just because they've lost their brothers, their sisters, they've lost their classmates. They understand this. They understand the implications. And I think we're selling them short when we look at these social policies.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Think about Planned Parenthood. And when you see polling for the nation's largest abortion vendor, who receives $700 million of our taxpayer dollars, every time you see brand polling on Planned Parenthood, we are told in the pro-life movement that telling Planned Parenthood to go get their own funding, to go fund themselves, as we call it, that's impossible, that their brand is untouchable. That is not the case. In our polling, 48%, so almost half of youth voters oppose Planned Parenthood receiving $700 million in taxpayer funds. 63% thought abortion should be prevented when a child feels pain at 12 and a half weeks. These are stats, Tony, you never see anywhere else. And it just took, it's something we do every January, honest polling, because we are interested not in push polls, but polling that actually tells us where this generation is. And so we can figure out how do we get them where they need to be fully with us, 100% pro-life.
This is a little risky, but I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to make a statement. You tell me if I'm wrong. But as I watched and, like you, helped educate voters in this last election, I was of the persuasion that Kamala Harris's radical position on abortion actually turned out pro-life voters, and even turned some voters to being pro-life, because it laid bare just how radical they were.
I absolutely agree with you. This is what we told a number of Republican candidates when we were telling them, do not bury your head in the sand on this. Because when you expose the Democrats' extremism on abortion, you will change minds. Because often I'm having conversations with young voters. They actually do not believe that anybody would ever vote to allow a baby who is born alive during abortion to die. It seems impossible to them. Yet that's just what happened last week. And so we and Republicans need to be louder about the extremism of Democrats. That was our messaging in Florida, in South Dakota, in Nebraska, when we won these late-term abortion ballot referendums. It was the extremism that the left had gone to. And that's what even David Brooks, a few years ago in the New York Times, David Brooks, pro-choice Democrat, he authored this op-ed, I'll never forget it, warning his own party about their abortion extremism. So they haven't learned that lesson yet. And I think the mainstream media and their cover-up for big abortion, corporate abortion, actually helps us in the sense that Democrats haven't gotten the memo yet.
Let me ask you one more question on this, and it surrounds the abortion pill, mifepristone, because that's now become the main vehicle to deliver abortions in this country. Somewhere near maybe 70% of abortions performed through this drug, coming through the mail in many cases because of the FDA's protocols that have been changed. In fact, this was center stage today in the United States Senate, the confirmation of Robert Kennedy Jr., where he was asked about this question by Senator Langford. And the president, he said the president hasn't really made up his mind fully on this yet. Well, this is a big issue. Where do the young people stand on this abortion pill?
I will tell you this, Tony, when I'm on campuses, we measure the number of conversations we have with young people and the minds changed rate. Our minds change rate when we start talking about chemical abortion pills and how they are polluting our earth goes from 10% to 18% in person. That's massive because no one likes to ever admit they were wrong in person, right? We found this the same thing in this poll. The vast majority of young people, when you ask them about chemical abortion pills, when you ask them about the common sense safety regulations that the FDA used to have on these pills to protect mothers from dying, majority, 9 in 10, want to see common sense safety regulations put back on these pills. So a mother won't die of an ectopic pregnancy if she takes these pills because it's undiagnosed. And that's what's happening because the abortion lobby, the Biden-Harris DOJ, sent out literally a memo after Roe fell saying, we're not going to enforce federal law, the Comstock Act. You can go ahead and violate state laws and flow these drugs across state boards. This is why in states across the country, Students for Life Action has actually introduced legislation, the Anti-Pill Trafficking Act, to give these pro-life states that have already acted with courage to end abortion the teeth to go after these illegal pill traffickers, because abortion is still happening in your state.
Right.
You live in Mississippi, you live in Indiana, you live in Florida. Abortions are still Texas. Your abortions are still happening because of the illegal nature of the.
And I've had that conversation with the president and his team that this is a huge loophole, saying let the states deal with it. Well, the states can't deal with it when the FDA has allowed these things to be sent through the mail into the states. But there's another element of this is that, and I'm not a tree hugger, but I do like clean water, this is an environmental issue.
100%. And that is what is the winning message with young people. This generation was raised to fear climate change. And we've all seen that, right? We've seen the climate change hysteria. They've had this lesson since literally kindergarten, that the earth is polluted, we're damaging the earth. But they've never really thought about what happens in chemical abortion pills. You have 70%, probably more, of abortion. So more than 700,000 children every year being aborted through these pills. Ask yourself where these babies go. They are being flushed into our waterways. Women are told to sit on the toilet, flush, and do not look. Mifepristone, the first drug in the chemical abortion cocktail, contains 3 active metabolites that are only found in mifepristone and no other pharmaceutical. There are known endocrine disruptors according to NIH studies from Europe. These known endocrine disruptors enter our waterways through the broken bodies of children and chemically tainted placenta and blood and other tissue. They go to our wastewater systems, and we have found at Students for Life, through an extensive 2-year study, that the wastewater treatment system plants they are not erasing these drugs out of water. They're actually present in our tap water. So they're affecting our downstream water that animals and fish use and rely on for their lives, and they're actually making our ways to our tap water. These metabolites are known anti-progesterone drugs. So if you are trying to get pregnant, if you are trying to stay pregnant, you do not want to be drinking anti-progesterone hormones. And that is what's in our water. And that is something that we've written to RFK. We're seeking a meeting with him once he gets confirmed. This is something that Lee Zeldin at the EPA should be caring about, because these contaminants are violating EPA standards. And RFK Jr., we know he's not 100% pro-life. He's not with us on every issue, but he's been very clear about holding pharmaceutical companies accountable for their crimes. President Trump has said over and over again that he wants crystal clear drinking water. This is a common sense issue. You do not have to be pro-life to agree that chemical abortion pills shouldn't be flowing into our water and harming every single American. And this is something that totally shifts the whole conversation when we're talking to young people about abortion. And it shows just how vicious Democrats are on this issue. The Biden-Harris administration knew this. They took away the safety regulations of chemical abortion pills. The FDA never completed the required environmental assessment of chemical abortion pills in 2000, and the multiple times during the Biden administration when they were forced to reevaluate the safety of these pills, they literally didn't check the box. They will do anything in the name of abortion access.
Risking the health of the entire population.
Right.
Kristan Hawkins, we'll continue to track that issue, and we appreciate you coming on today and exciting information from this poll. There is a way forward, and it is life. Thanks for joining us.